everybody, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Ane's Food Show. It is my pleasure to develop these shows for you, and I hope you enjoy them just as much as I have fun making them for you. Don't go very far today because I have two very tasty, delicious recipes for you. I am working with the rice. We'll just look at a twist on making just plain rice. You know, rice is rice as we know it, but once in a while it's good to have a twist to it. And we're going to do some rice and some coconut with mint, and then we'll serve that with a broccoli and beef side. Well, it's not really a side dish, broccoli and beef dish. So don't go far because we have a very simple recipes, yet very delicious and nutritive recipe. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Anna's Food Show, your favorite food and lifestyle show. The assurance for your well-being.
Okay, to get our first dish started, which is the coconut and mint rice, basically those are all the ingredients. We've got coconut, we've got rice, and we've got mint. That's all we're using for this. But to get it going, we'll start by turning on and we'll heat the pan just a little bit, and you know, you can actually feel it. Then what we'll do first is we'll put in our coconut. We have about a cup of grated coconut, which is about a half of a coconut. So I'll just put that on the hot pan, and what that does is it's going to toast the coconut. You know, coconut is also a very healthy nut, food item, as far as it's got coconut oil, and coconuts have about 40% of oil or fats in it. So this toasting would release some of those oils and also the flavor alongside with it. Oh, now you can smell some of the coconut. Now, what we'll add next is just 2 cups of water, which is about what we need to cook the rice. 2 cups of water, and we stir that. And we let it simmer so that it really boils out the coconut milk that's in it. The oil would actually come out well. Adding to the coconut is mint. I'm going to just put this whole bunch. I've got quite a few tips here of mint. I'll just throw that in there. And what will happen is I'm allowing it to boil with the coconut so that the flavor of the mint will come through, and that will give it, you know, mint flavor is so subtle, and so sometimes even if I put a whole lot of it, you might get you might not even get like really strong mint per se, but just that subtle flavor in mint in the rice with the coconut will just give it a different twist that you may not be expecting, but delicious nonetheless. So we'll just cover that and bring to a boil. While that is coming up to a boil, I'm using, again, white rice from UNVDA, and I'm using the short grain Tainan rice, which is short. It has starch in it. However, it is not like, you know, sticky starch. You will get a good rice out of it. Plus, the flavor is just awesome. What I've done, I've just washed it out with cold water, just a good rinse until the water runs clear, and it's fine. So what I'll do is, we just check here, this is boiling already. And I'll go ahead and add the rice. I'll leave the mint in it. And so at the end of the dish, we'll just scoop out the mint before we serve it. Okay. There we go. This is a cup of rice. Okay, actually I started with 2 cups of water. But from what I'm seeing, because the coconut may also absorb some water, if it was just the plain rice on its own, the 2 cups of water would be fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and add just about a half a cup of water. And that's really all there is to this dish. So we'll put the lid on it and we'll get back to it. And while it's getting ready, we'll prepare our vegetable dish, which will go along with our coconut mint rice. Stay tuned.
Anna's Food Show, your favorite food and lifestyle show. The assurance for your well-being.
Okay, our next dish is a stir-fried broccoli with beef. And again, we're extending coconut into this dish. And like I said earlier, coconut has a lot of good values to it, which we really should make it a point. Coconut oils is very good for the skin, it's good for your hair, it's good for your eyes, it's good to boost your immune system. And if you have a strong immune system, everything else in your body works beautifully well. So we're going to combine coconut with broccoli as well as with beef. So we start this off. I'll just slice the onions. I'm using sliced onion here, and we'll saute the onions alongside the beef. So most of our cooking, we actually boil our meat and then add everything else to it. This time around, we're going to saute our onions and cook it alongside with the beef. So just get some nice slices here. There we go. This onion has been sitting in water for some time, so it's really not as painful to my eyes. Okay. So again, we want to get our pan really hot, and I'm just using a wok here. You can use a flat bottom pan or a big fry pan or whatever suits you, whatever you have in your kitchen. The advantage with this is just it has this this kind of a cone shape, so it allows you to stir the food in it really easily. Used a lot in Asian cooking. So just put it about a 1/4 cup or 4 tablespoons of oil and swirl it around. Want to make sure that it heats up very well. In the meantime, I'll just check on our rice. It is doing just fine, looks good. And the water has been taken up. So soon I'm just going to turn it off. Again, while it was cooking, I had to turn the heat really low. And it looks nice and soft already. And I'll just go ahead and turn it off. There we go. Now our oil is quite hot. And when it's this hot, that is when it's good to put in our beef. I'm going to use a spoon so that I can take off any water in it. So this is going to be a big splash. This is about 1 kilo of meat, but cut very thinly. I don't want any water to get into it, so I just we're using a boneless piece. So the meat, normally when you go to buy meat, when you ask for a boneless or meat without bone, sometimes, you know, they just cut a part of meat and take out the bone and then give you the meat. Well, that is fine depending on what you want it for, because sometimes those cuts may be too high in fat. Now this part is really like what you would call a muscle part. So it's just really a red meat. Now, when you cook red meat like that without, you know, which is not from a different part of the beef, the tendency is that the meat might get tough because the meat really doesn't have any fat to it. And so because it doesn't have any fat to it, fat gives some sort of it tenderizes meat a little bit. So this tends to be very dry. And that is why it's good when they make soya meat with it. And it's sliced very thin. So this is what we're going to do. We've done here, we've sliced it very thin. And we're just going to cook it, just stir it, fry it here. So that it, I don't know, it cooks. Now, the longer you cook this, the tougher it gets, this boneless cuts. And so that's what you have to be very aware of and very careful. And so sometimes when you have soya, it's a boneless cut, it's a very thin cut, yet they really have to use a lot of oil. All that oil going into it makes it a little bit more tender and gives it more flavor. And so with this also is the same principle working for this dish. We started with a 1/4 cup of oil. We're just gonna cook it now until all this excess water is gonna dry out, and then we really fry it and add the rest of the ingredients and fry it together. And we'll end up with a nice, tasty dish. While this is happening, we prepare the rest of our ingredients. So on here, I have onions already sliced. I have about 6 cloves of garlic, which we'll just chop. Again, as I've said over and over on the show, I usually prefer to chop my garlic rather than to grind it into a fine puree. Okay, then I am also going to add some ginger to this. So the spice base is really not terribly unique. We have onions, garlic, ginger, which are spices that we all normally use, salt and black pepper. Keeping it simple. Sometimes keeping things simple actually gives you awesome flavor. It's not when you have to put every spice or every herb or everything in your kitchen cupboard into your dish that makes it a good dish. Sometimes just being simple and straight to the point makes your dish an awesome flavorful dish. Okay, so this is chopped. Also we'll add ginger, and I'll just use a grater and I'll just grate the ginger down. Again, staying away from grinding the ginger on a stone. I'm just chopping it, grating it rather. You could also chop it with a knife. All right, I've got ginger now all fully grated. So now that the water on the meat has dried down a little bit, and so it's like beginning to fry in its own juices. So now I'll go ahead, and I usually like to add my spices like black pepper at this moment. So I'll add about a teaspoonful of black pepper. So this is a 1/2 teaspoon measure, so I'll just add a bit more. And it's about a teaspoon of salt. The salt actually is going to help to tenderize the meat a little bit. And then we'll add our onions. So I'll just hold my board as it has most of my ingredients on there. We'll just go right in and add the onions. In this instance, I think I'll let the onion cook down a little bit before we add the garlic and the ginger, because the garlic and the ginger are, they're soft. They don't need a long time to cook, whereas it can burn and char and change the flavor of what I need this dish to be. So just stir fry it like this. And so that whole process of building your flavor, that's what I'm doing right now. And to that now, I'll also add the coconut. And I'll just add about a cup. Or I'll just add all of this. This is, yeah. But this is one small coconut. This is one small coconut. So I'll just add it in there. So it starts also releasing its juices and releasing its flavor. And we'll just let it toss and fry and cook. So this is something you can eat on its own, or you can eat alongside a side dish like rice, yams, plantains, or whatever suits your taste. Okay, next we're going to prepare our broccoli to go into this dish. Now, recently in the Bamenda markets, you will find a lot of vegetable sellers that sell broccoli and cauliflower. And a lot of people buy broccoli and cauliflower and they put that together with zucchini and green pepper. In essence, they do like mixed vegetable. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is, well, Auntie Annie, how do you cook this? How should it be cooked? And what and all or not? And most people tend to just boil it and then mix all the vegetables together. Now the danger with doing that is you ruin the nutritive value or the content of your broccoli or cauliflower. One of the best ways to do this is just to stir fry it and it just softens. It cooks in its natural juices and it softens. Now if you want to use it in a vegetable, like mixed vegetable, the best thing, like doing something like this, stir frying it, you just stir fry your vegetables and it softens in. When you have to boil it or cook it, you really diminish the nutritive value of your broccoli. Another way of doing it is you boil your water. When the water is boiled, you can drop a little bit of salt and olive oil and you throw in the segments of broccoli as we're going to do, and then just let it in that hot water for about 2 to 3 minutes and the color changes to a very bright green. You drain it and you preserve it, and you can keep it cold and use it in salads. You can still use it for your mixed vegetables and it will be awesome. So we'll go ahead now and add the garlic and ginger to that. I need to get this really low. It was getting just a little bit too fried. I will drop in a little bit more oil. I started with very little oil. So we'll just, and also my pan is thin. So when you're working with cooking pans that are thin at the bottom, you tend to have to add more oil because your food sticks to the bottom of the pan, as opposed to buying a heavy bottom pan, which transmits heat a little bit differently, and so it helps. It's a lot more money up front. However, it's better for your health and for your life. And so to prepare a broccoli, all you need to do is you can just do them like this. Just cut the segments out like so. And you can just actually just break them apart. But we don't want to get them too tiny because then it will just fall apart into a big mush. So we turn it upside down like this and we can just cut around the stem and remove it like so. And this is all that it takes. This is what it takes to prepare your broccoli. So if you were just to blanch this and use it in salads, you would just do this and put it in hot boiling water. So we will go ahead now and add it into this. And as we've got enough broccoli, we can always add some more. Now broccoli is very good. It's high in vitamin C, even though it's green. It's high in vitamin K, which is good for your blood circulation. And also it has some micronutrients that are also really good for you. And you know, when you get to be above 40, the doctor starts telling you you need to cut down on this and that, and you need to eat more fiber, and you need to eat this, and you need to not eat that. Broccoli is something that is awesome to have, and it helps with your blood, it helps with your immune system, and now we've combined it with coconut, so you really honestly cannot go wrong. So just stay tuned, and we'll be right back as we'll come back to see how it all comes together. Don't go away.
Anna's Food Show, your favorite food and lifestyle show. The assurance for your well-being.
All right, we finally got all of our broccoli into the dish, and I'm just going to finish it off with just a little bit of orange juice. Yes, orange juice. Now be careful when you squeeze your orange into the dish that your seeds, if it's possible to take it out earlier, you should do. And it's not going to be like orange juice sweet per se, because we've put all the other spices in it. And it's just going to add a little bit of moisture to the dish so it's not so dry. We're not putting it for the vitamin C content, because vitamin C in orange juice, when it's heated up, it loses its value as vitamin C. So we're just putting it in to get some moisture and flavor into the dish. And we have a very beautiful young lady who is a medical doctor, public health doctor, and she's going to taste this and give us her feedback on what it is like, what it tastes like, and what this combination means for somebody who has health challenges and is nutritionally starved. So I'm going to turn this off already, because the broccoli, like I said earlier, broccoli just needs a little bit of heat and it turns bright green, and it's just fine. If we leave it in heat for long, it's going to go brown and red, not red, but sort of like yellow, and therefore it's beginning to lose its nutritional value. At this point, it's ready to taste. And so, Dr. Ravi, welcome to the show, and it's a pleasure having you here on the Anna's Food Show.
Thank you very much.
And I have an interesting combination here. I have broccoli, beef, coconut. This is sort of like a stir fry. And we're serving that alongside with rice cooked with coconut and meat. I know we're really going overboard on the coconut today, but can you just tell us a little bit about who you are? And like I said earlier, just give us a little bit of insight on this kind of a combination for public health.
Okay. So I'm Dr. Rabi Labaran, a general practitioner, and I'm here in Bamenda, working on a public health project which is comprehensive for childcare. And just like she has said before, this dish, what I have before me, it looks like a very complete diet, as we say it in health, because we have rice, which is starch, we have coconut, we have broccoli, we have beef. I can say that it's so complete because it has all the components of nutrition that we need in a diet, and it looks very delicious too.
Okay,
so
excellent.
I would really like to have a bite of it, and for those who cannot have a bite, I'm sorry, but I'm the lucky one here.
Oh yes, she actually is a lucky one today. So if you just pass the plate,
Okay.
I'll just put this dish some coconut mint rice out here, and I believe in having all of your food.
Okay.
So that's why in this rice there's the grated coconut. So the whole coconut is in it. Okay. So you can have the full measure of the nutritional value. Okay. Ooh. It's a little bit hot, but I'm sure you can handle it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to have.
Just go right ahead and dig in.
It's very delicious. It's very yummy.
She says it's very yummy.
This is very nice.
And the beef, is it cooked for you?
Yeah, it's cooked. It's not too soft and it's not also hard. So I think it's just
right. Okay. So I know somebody was wondering in their mind with the length of time that we cooked this, if this was going to be ready. But it is, because we cooked the meat, we cut the meat very thinly. So by just cooking off the natural juices and then let it fry down a little bit, then adding the rest of it, it makes for a perfect cook. So thank you so much for sharing your insights on public health with this, and it's a pleasure having you on our set.
Same here.
And I'm sure you're going to be back again.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I go with my food?
Just 1 minute, you can keep eating.
Okay.
Thank you very much for watching the show today, and I hope that you've been able to learn something of value: broccoli, coconut, and rice and mint. Something that you can also do at home very easily. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us on amundi@gmail.com, on Facebook at Anae's Food Show, YouTube Anae's Food Show, as well as Instagram. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next show, and bon appetit.